Yes.
Yes, okay. Thanks. Welcome to this public meeting of the Princeton Board of Education. The board is an elected, unpaid group of 10 citizens who set policy and make decisions on educational, financial, and personnel matters for the Princeton Public Schools on behalf of all residents. We are always pleased when members of the community attend our meetings. The board and the school district operate under applicable New Jersey laws and under regulations of the New Jersey State Board of Education. Each meeting includes an opportunity for those attending to comment on items on the published agenda or other matters of interest to them. The board reserves the right to limit the time allotted to public participation. Law limits discussion of individual personnel and confidential matters. We hope that our meetings provide useful opportunities for communication between the board and the community. Thank you for attending.
As required under the Open Public Meeting Act and JSA 1046 et sequentia, adequate notice was given for calling this meeting. It was authorized by the Board of Education and forwarded to the municipal clerk, Princeton Packet, and the Times on October 21st, 2022. It was also distributed to schools, and others on the standard distribution list. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. Board Policy 2230, recording devices, requires that we inform those attending this virtual Zoom meeting that the proceedings are being recorded. This meeting is not being live streamed. Public members who wish to make comment at the appropriate time, as noted in the agenda or added by the presiding officer, shall raise their hand virtually at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Once called upon, the member of the public will be requested to unmute themselves by clicking the mute button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Representative of the sending district is authorized to vote on such matters that affect sending district students or affect the governance of the Princeton Public Schools, as more specifically designated in NJSA 18A38.8.1. In the event this statute is amended, the law shall take precedence over this bylaw. Sending district votes pertaining to personnel actions refer to high school, central administrative, and district-wide staff only. Votes otherwise are considered abstentions.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Daphne Kendall.
Here.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder.
Present.
Betsy Baglia.
Here.
Beth Barron.
Here.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Here.
Jean Durbin.
Present.
Mara Franceschi.
Here.
Brian McDonald.
Present.
Susan Cantor.
Here.
Robert Christopher.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. Can I get, we're going to move on now to item D1, adoption of the minutes for October 18th, 2022. Can I get motion? Beth, second. Mara? Mr. Bolden?
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder.
Abstain.
Betsy Baglia.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Yes.
Jean Durbin.
Yes.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Christopher stuck on mute. Yes.
Was that yes?
Did well.
Okay.
All right. Can I get a motion for D2, adoption of the minutes for November 14th, 2022?
Brian. Uh-oh. Daphne froze for a minute.
She's back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry. So Brian, second. Sorry about that, everybody. Susan?
Daphne Kendall.
Yes.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder.
Yes.
Betsy Baglia.
Yes.
Beth Barron.
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld.
Yes.
Jean Durbin.
Abstain.
Mara Franceschi.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Susan Cantor.
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you, Mr. Bolden. So we'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting today. Thanksgiving week, it's a little unusual, but we're grateful that everyone is here. We have a very packed agenda, so we will move it along. I just first wanted to say on behalf of the board, we wanted to extend our condolences to the victims of the shooting in Colorado Springs. We value all students, and we hope that the students here know that there's an adult that they can always go to if they need a safe space. And then moving on to number 2, making routines of middle school fun. I will turn it over to Mr. Justin Mathews at the Princeton Middle School. And we're very grateful that you're here with us today.
Thank you, Daphne. And I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, I think we're good to go. So hello to everyone on the screen and at home. I want to thank the board tonight for celebrating what happens at Princeton Middle School. This week, I'm thankful for the amazing people that keep our building humming. Our staff makes the day special and memorable for our students. And this is just a small sample of what we have to offer our learners. This presentation wouldn't be possible without the work of our 3 counselors. They are the foundation of our student-centered programs. They are the champions for children being seen and heard. Just recently, we had a bystander assembly. 8th grade students were able to make an impact on 7th and 6th graders with a message of inclusion and acceptance. And it was one of the more powerful things I've ever seen at the middle school. We are so lucky to have Ms. Bernal, Mr. Castagliola, and Ms. D. Sebastian. Research papers and group projects take on new direction in Ms. Heglin's English class. Students complete infographics to put on public display based on their research into issues affecting teens. They also reflect on how being an introvert or extrovert might impact their performance in a group project. I never remember being asked where I fall on that spectrum. What a powerful tool for understanding yourself and those around you. Ms. Samuel has students earning and managing their money in financial literacy. They apply for jobs and have to pay for luxuries and necessities. Students see the difference between their salary and what you get to take home each week. If they need to charge their computers, it's going to cost them. And it is the one room in the building where the Wi-Fi is not exactly free. And you can see it deducted there for their Wi-Fi internet usage, which is a reoccurring bill on their, which is just great. Last year, she even conducted a lottery. Students were able to buy tickets and the winning numbers were announced on a Friday afternoon. And it seriously felt like the PMS Powerball. And the kid that won was in my room, and I don't think she'll ever forget that day. Mr. Casey makes programming a robot a chance for students to express their musical preference and their dance skills through robots. And I think this video speaks for itself.
Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy I'm alone if you feel like that's what you want to do.
The assignment was to demonstrate 3 different moves, which without the music is just not the same. And our students felt the love this Halloween. Miss Pack and Miss Borgia wore matching t-shirts showing off their future bundles of joy. They are a model for positive friendship and the spirit of inclusion. And Miss Pack is home with her newborn right now. And last but not least, on E-days, our kids struggle to keep track of their 9 different periods. In 6th grade, we break things down by colors. Last week, I pulled off a wardrobe change for each period. For one day only, students just needed to check out my shirt to know what period was next. I now have requests to do this daily. Can you follow the colors? So that's all for me. I'm very proud of the staff and thankful for my many years getting to work with all of them. Thank you for your time, and please, everyone, enjoy the weekend.
Mr. Mathews, thank you so much. I don't think I've ever seen everyone smile at the same time. So you did that. So we appreciate it. And please let the teachers at the middle school know that we're very grateful for what they do to make school fun for our kids, and very impressive on the wardrobe changes. I'm glad I don't have to do your laundry.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Can I just echo, as well, as a current parent at the middle school, I hear about this magic happening. It makes a difference to kids every day. So I appreciate you and all the teachers and staff members there very much. Thank you.
All right, take care, Mr. Mathews. Have a good night. All right, next, moving on, we have a mental health, social emotional learning update, and that is with Dana Karras. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. And let's just make sure I have screen sharing. It is not allowing me to share for some reason. It's not. Mr. Bold, would you be able to share my presentation? I know I shared it with you.
I don't know if do I have the latest and greatest? Was only the one change, right?
Yep, you have it.
Just give me a second if you want to
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not
do a
sure why
monologue.
it's not
Do a
sharing.
monologue for a second. I'll just have to pull up the hold on. Wait, I should be able to get it quickly. Almost there. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like we should play the Jeopardy music or something.
I know, right?
I had to go to the other way. Give me 1 second.
Bring Mr. Mathews back for the robot video.
Do you want me to
I
move
was
on
going
to
to say we
our,
could play the robot video.
do you want me to go on to the next presenter while you work on that?
That would be good. Dana, if
Okay.
you share it with me as well, I can.
Yeah, I did. I
I have-
shared it with you yesterday or the other day.
Okay.
So our next up on our agenda is Sustainable Princeton presentation, and Jenny Ludmer is here to discuss. And Christine Symington, hello, nice to see you. And I'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here tonight. I just wanted to say a few quick words in the spirit of Thanksgiving before I turn over to my colleague, Jenny, and her presentation. I want to say that on behalf of Sustainable Princeton's board and our team members, that we thank the school board, Superintendent Kelly, the administration, professional staff, teachers, students, and parents for all the work they've done over the years to embed sustainability into the planning, curriculum, and daily operations, and into the district's overall ethos. We also want to thank the community volunteers and organizations that have supported the district in achieving sustainability goals over the years. And just that we're very grateful for this partnership. And I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And I'm going to start with a presentation. And Hopefully I'm not having any problem sharing. Everybody can see this now.
Yep.
All right. Okay, good. So I wanted to just start by giving an overview of how we have worked with the district over the past year. The first thing that we did The first thing that we did was create a sustainability timeline for the district. And it was inspired by the categories in Princeton's climate action plan. But I have called it from the very beginning a draft sustainability plan, just to allow some flexibility when we need to bring things forward, and sometimes certain actions need more time. But we try to look at this at every meeting and just make sure that we're staying on target. So I'll start by talking about the actions that we've done regarding energy. We compile all of the energy data, so that's natural gas and electricity data for the district, and send them quarterly updates. One marker that we are always looking at is kind of a snapshot for each building, and it's called the site energy use intensity. So this is all of the electricity and natural gas for a building divided by its square foot. And so what you should be seeing is that they have relatively similar intensities. And when they don't, you kind of start to ask why. So one school that we like to pick on a lot is Community Park, because it always stands out a little higher. You can see, even though it's one of the smaller elementary schools by square footage, it's using a little more energy than the other elementary schools. And then of course you see at the other end of the spectrum, the middle schools using a lot more energy than the high school. And that's probably because of the swimming pool. So there's some things that we know about, but there's some things that we also ask more questions about. So let me see if I can get this slide to go. My keyboard, there we go. So what we will also do when the energy use intensity doesn't give us all the info we're looking for, we will look at the actual meter data. So this is natural gas data as an example. Normally we look at it over 3 years. In this case, when we did that, we were really questioning why Community Park had these two high peaks in the last 2 years. This is far higher than any of the other elementary school buildings. And so we were trying to understand if that was a blip or if it's something new. And so we went back 6 years, and we have all this data and we can do this. And we're just starting to think through what it is. We also want to consider the different installations that have happened that influence electric, or in this case, natural gas usage. And then of course, we're thinking about when the buildings were closed for a year with COVID. So one thing that comes up when you look at it this way, though, is you start saying, well, did weather just cause these peaks to change? Is that all it is? And so that's why we go back, excuse me. There we go, to energy use intensity. And this time I'm looking at it over the same 6 years. And when you do that, you can start to see things like these two green circles I gave you, where there were really dramatic shifts in energy use. This energy use intensity, all these purple dots have been normalized for weather. So that means that this big jump wasn't caused by weather. It was caused by something else. We know that this happened around the time of COVID. We know that there were increased filtration systems implemented at that time. We also know that the air dells were installed. We know that there were HVAC upgrades around that time. And so we're spending a lot of time trying to see if we can understand what happened to cause that increase, because these increases, of course, have a financial impact. And then another thing that we're thinking a lot about with energy that I know everyone is eager to get updates about is, when is solar coming? The good news is that it's still on the radar, but because of the current construction efforts, what I'm hearing from Matt is that we're about a year away from that. So at the same time, once this construction is over, we're looking at energy efficiency upgrades at the high school and the middle school. And then as part of that, you know, we want to consider the feasibility for a microgrid at the two schools. And so any of those actions would be done through the state's financing mechanisms. You might have heard about an ESIP or a PPA. These are all different strategies to bring in solar and energy efficiency upgrades without taxpayer expense, which we know is important. Moving on to transportation, one of the things we did about at the beginning of the school year was send a survey to all of the staff, asking them about their interest in an electric vehicle. We found that there was pretty strong support. You can see from the graph here how many people think that the district should seek grants and funds to bring EV charging. We had pretty good support. And then we also learned a few things, like there were 14 staff members that already have electric vehicles. So this was good, and it kind of helps you build the case for bringing workplace charging to the schools. A lot of what we would need to do that, we've started on. We've pulled quotes for electric vehicle charging to bring workplace charging to each of the schools, but we've also pulled quotes to electrify the school bus fleet. And so we're looking at what that would take, what the costs are. I can tell you the costs are high for installation. It's a challenge, but we are now in a position to look for those grants and funds that might support us. The district, we did assist the district in applying to upgrade 4 diesel and gas buses through the EPA's Clean School Bus Program. That grant did not come our way, unfortunately, but there are many other opportunities now on our radar. The state has a new program that will be launching this spring that will provide vouchers that could be applied to school buses as well as some of the maintenance vehicles. So we're closely following that and, you know, staying on top of it by performing a fleet analyses and looking at all of the district's fleets so that when these opportunities come up, we can move on them. So other areas that we're working in are natural resources. You might remember about a year ago, we had a joint grant with the municipality to explore electrification of the landscaping fleet. And with that grant, the district now has an electric leaf blower that they can use in certain settings. They're finding that it to be very helpful. I don't believe that it has replaced the gas leaf blower yet, but it has brought in some opportunities where they appreciate the sound reduction as well as the lack of fumes. The district has also contracted with Stewart Green to take on 2 different basins that are at the high school. The goal with the Eco Labs reboot, you might have noticed it's going through some pretty extreme changes, but the goal with this is to restore the educational experience and the living laboratory that students at the high school have access to, but also at the same time improve access for the grounds crew because they need to maintain the area. We want to ensure that the stormwater basin is fully functioning to hold as much water but at the same time move it as it can. And then we want to have a long-term maintenance plan in place. We don't want to have the big trees in it again. And so the goal would be to set up a maintenance plan to prevent that. And then also they're going to take the opportunity now to repair the surrounding walls and railing, which have some wear and tear. The new basin has also been is in the process of being naturalized by Stewart Green. That will provide a second educational experience and living laboratory for the students at the high school, but also another wildlife habitat. And then it just improves the aesthetics rather than having grass there. that takes time to mow, we're going to have wildflowers and native grasses. And those plants actually act to improve the function of the basin. They help filter pollutants, but they also help soak up some of the stormwater. And I skipped over materials management. I will just say briefly that the district did achieve implementing greener cleaning this year, which was a great thing. And then I'll move on to talk about the last section I have there, which is I want to congratulate, Littlebrook and Johnson Park. They both achieved bronze in the Sustainability for Schools certification. And then I have worked with Johnson Park and the high school to submit two $2,000 grants that will help make their schools more sustainable. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that they get them. And then in the past year, we also worked with the district to co-host 2 sustainability in our schools events. And we look forward to doing those sort of activities again in the future. And so that ends my presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much, Jane, Christine, for coming tonight, and thanks for all, the school district has a large carbon footprint, and we appreciate and we're thankful for all your efforts to help us work on that. Did anyone have any questions? Comments? Ryan, I'm sorry.
Sure. I just wanted to thank Jenny and Christine and the many members of the district community who have been focused on sustainability. The schools have been working in this area, kind of, moving not as quickly as many of us had hoped, but in the last year, things have really taken off. And I think it's extremely heartening that we can look at the plans that Jenny just outlined and know that this is work that is only a beginning. And we have a long way to go, but we're organized. We're grateful for the work of Sustainable Princeton and everybody who's encouraged us to get moving with sustainability. And we're grateful for all the members of the schools community that are supportive of this effort. Thank you.
Betsy.
And yes, I just want to say thank you as well, Jenny. This is really great to have this information. I was just thinking about the increase of energy use at CP. I just wanted to throw out there, it would have happened to every school. I know there was a lot more fresh air coming into schools during that time when people returned in that first year post-COVID. So perhaps in the winter, if windows were open, just throwing out a solution there.
No, that's definitely one that we're considering. Yeah.
Thanks very much, though, for the presentation and for all the work.
Sure.
All right, well, thank you very much. So now we will go back to the SEL presentation. Are we ready for that?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Jenny, Christine. Take care.
There we go. Dana, you ready?
Perfect. Thank you. So this is our student mental health and wellness overview of what we've been doing this year to address the needs with our students. So Matt, if you could go to the next slide. In terms of the agenda, some of the things that I want to go over this evening will just include an overview, introduction, and then 4 key areas that we've really focused our mental health and wellness initiatives on, which include our professional development for our staff, the work we've been doing with our parent and caregivers, the community connections and collaborations, as well as our school programming and services. So in terms of an overview, student mental health statistics, as many as 1 in 5 children between the ages of 9 and 17 and 1 in 7 children ages 2 to 8 have a diagnosable mental health condition. These are from our national statistics that have been coming out, especially around COVID within the past year. Diagnoses of depression, anxiety are on the rise, increasing from 5.4% about 20 years ago to 10 years later being 8.4, and that number continues to rise. And at the beginning of the pandemic, you will see here that we had increases in emergency room visits for our young people from 24% for children ages 5 to 11 to 31% for those in the older age bracket. So when we start looking at Princeton and what we're seeing just within these first 10 weeks of school is definitely alarming. So I want you to really just take a moment and look at these numbers. Within the first 10 weeks of school, that's not a lot of school days. We've had 18 risk assessments already. I know when I speak to some of my colleagues in other areas, and they'll say like, oh, we've had 1 or 2 so far this year. How many have you had? And I'll be like 18. That's an alarming number. 3 of those were our middle school students, 15 at the high school. And I know, unfortunately, we had another risk assessment that we conducted just again today. 6 of those students were sent for further evaluation. So what that means is that we worked with Penn Medicine to send the students to the emergency room in that moment. That's a very traumatic experience for a young person to have. And 6 of our students, unfortunately, did have to have that experience this year because of concerns that were raised in school. For the students that were not referred for further evaluation, that didn't mean that they fell off of our radar. We're very much aware that there were still other additional needs. So 5 of those students were referred to Effective School Solutions for weekly counseling sessions. We have some community relationships as well, and we're able to get 2 students referred to Gen Psych, which is located in town. 2 referrals were made to IOPs, so those are intensive outpatient treatment centers for our students. And luckily, 3 of the students had current therapists and clinicians that they were working with, and we've enhanced that collaboration with those therapists to continue the conversation so that we can have more of a wraparound level of service to students that are experiencing mental health concerns in school. And Matt, if you could go to the next slide. The reasons for the referrals, they come from many different areas. Sometimes it is coming directly from the student themselves, and more often than not, it's coming from peers, staff members that are observing something with a student that is kind of raising that red flag. So what we're seeing is many of the students have suicidal ideations, self-harm behaviors. 3 of the students actually were emotional dysregulation, where they were just having, for lack of a better term, they were just literally having that meltdown in school, and we needed to react immediately. Past depression and anxiety diagnoses. Some of our students are engaging in some destructive behaviors, including substance abuse. Students class and school avoidance, and of course those pressures from not only family but societal pressures for them to be successful. So those are the top reasons why we're seeing students in our offices, both the child study team and the school counselors and our student assistance counselor. We can get the next slide. I thought that this quote just really rang so true. You know, when we see someone with a broken leg, that we don't tell them that they should stop wallowing and get it together. We don't consider taking medicine for an ear infection something to be ashamed of, and we shouldn't treat mental health conditions any differently. The whole idea is that we really need to ensure that we continually shine the light on the fact that this is a real concern for our young people, and it's not just something that they can shake off and move on from. Okay. So in terms of our intervention and prevention activities, professional development is key. We really want to ensure that our staff members are trained and knowledgeable, not only about the symptoms, but what they can do differently within their classroom settings to support students. This professional development takes place really in 2 different ways. So Matt, if you go to the next slide. We have our large scale professional development. At the beginning of the school year, we had all Princeton High School and Princeton Middle School staff members take place in a large group setting where they learned about the language of behaviors to really start to be able to understand those signs of things that are occurring. We've also done many smaller group things with the staff as part of the school counseling program. At nearly every meeting that we've had this year, we're bringing in different community therapist groups, different speakers, attending webinars together so that we could just keep on top of what we can do better to support students in this area. Next slide. We've also been pushing out efforts to ensure that our parent community and caregiver community is well informed. We had a wonderful evening event back on October 13th, Having Hope Suicide Prevention for Parents, where it looked at defining suicide signs and how to get help. Our Effective School Solutions members have attended our PTOC meetings to speak to the parent groups as well. And then I recently wrote an article for the Princeton Perspective on some of the efforts that we have implemented in the district thus far throughout the school year to really support student mental health and really that finding that balance for students between the stressors that they have in their personal lives and in school. Our community connections are really key to all of this. This year, we have really expanded the collaborations that we have. Effective School Solutions now has 2 clinicians that are full-time at the middle school and high school. They both have completely full caseloads at this time of the year. And one of the things that I thought was a very interesting statistic, just because I love those numbers, is that 60% of the students that have been assessed have that history of self-harm within the past year. So these are our students, even though we've identified them now for some additional supports in school, they do have that history within themselves of needing this. We also have continued the wonderful collaboration with Princeton Family Institute, and we do have a clinician 2 days a week. This is a grant-funded program that is providing trauma-informed counseling specifically for our students that are in the ESL program. And she is a bilingual counselor working with those students 2 days a week. An exciting thing that is just going to get started in the coming weeks is a connection with Trinity Counseling, where they're going to be doing a pilot program with our elementary students, and this is called Sunshine Circles. It's a play therapy to really work with our case students to enhance attachment, self-esteem, trust, and really joyful engagement. So really starting with our youngest kids, and this is a brand new pilot program that will get kicked off at one of our elementary schools. And of course, with our community partners, I put high focus on here because they came in and spoke with the counseling groups recently to provide information, and we've been making referrals and have many of our students that are working with them and keeping that connection with them as well. So here's just some feedback that we've been receiving from parents, from those in the school, from students, just about how beneficial. One of the things, of course, that everyone feels about the things that we're doing is we really wish we had more. Could there be, multiple clinicians in the school, because they really recognize the need for these supports to help our young people get through the school day. And in terms of programs and services, we do have, tier 1, tier 2 services available. So of course, again, the Effective School Solutions, that's considered tier 2, addressing those identified students. Just last week at the high school, we started the Teen Mental Health First Aid Program in the 10th grade health classes. As a result of that, the students at the end of each session are completing a kind of an exit ticket in which they indicated they need additional supports, and the counselors and the SAC have been seeing students each day as a result of the information that's coming from that program. Later this year, we'll be implementing our IndieFlix movie series, which will be community-wide events. At all levels. We've been doing counseling lessons to address the social emotional learning and responsive classroom, which is for all students. And then next week, right after the vacation, we will be doing our final onboarding with Insight Health, in which all of the school counselors, the child study team members and the SAC will all be learning about this no-cost advanced psychiatric provider, which will be available to not only our students, but also our staff who may need some supports using that teletherapy. So we're really kind of looking at this from all ends and making sure that we're addressing the needs of all of our students and our staff through our efforts. One of the great things that we've been really kind of excited to get our hands into, this just gives an example of the type of feedback reports that we're getting. This is just a simple one that I was able to run at the beginning of the week so that we can track weekly how many students are being seen, if they're being just screened, or if they're actually receiving therapeutic services. So we're kind of keeping that conversation going daily and weekly with all of our providers, so that we're making sure that the needs of our students are being met. So when we look at mental health, one of the big things, it's, these 5 T's, right? We have to talk about it, and in many ways trying to normalize that conversation. We want to provide training. We want to use the teaching, and we want to provide kids with tools. And of course, we want to take care of our teachers. It's really, to kind of address it from all angles is really the best method, so that we can ensure everybody's well-being while at school. Because we know that if students feel, if we go back to those Maslow's hierarchy, kids need to feel safe and secure before they can really get to those other stages. And we know true learning in the classroom can't happen if they are not there. So, and of course, can never end without having Tiger, because he just makes me smile. So we know there's more to come, and obviously the efforts, and I'm so excited that Sarah has him and is training him so that he can be in our schools, and how excited and happy he makes the children when he is there at the buildings. So there is more to come. It's only the first 10 weeks of school. Thank you.
Has it only been 10 weeks? Seems a lot longer.
It really has only been 10 weeks.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for this thorough just update on mental health issues. It's a big concern of ours, and we appreciate your attention to this. And I will call on my fellow board members for questions. And Beth, your hand was up first.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Rena, for that presentation. And I do appreciate the many different ways we're trying to provide resources. I know it's hard to catch everyone, and we seem like we're trying many different routes, which is helpful. If a parent has a concern about their child and is concerned about mental health issues, is there a place on the website, or is there some place where somebody can go and look up, how do I help, or what are my options? Do we have a resource like that?
Yeah, on the website, we actually do have, under the counseling service link, we do have information with all of the updated crisis numbers. We also have on there, because I've been trying to work with Andrew in his office to continually update the website. And there is a community resource guide posted there as well.
I would just suggest that we actually push that out, because not only do we expect people to find it, we should probably to make sure parents know that those resources are available and how to get them. And you maybe do it twice a year just to make sure it's getting to people. Thanks.
That's a great point. Thank you, Beth. Debbie?
Yes. So you spoke a lot about students in the high school and the middle school. Wondering kind of what other than, Tiger, what we have for some of the elementary. I know in the past there's been like lunch bunch and it's different, and it comes out differently, but kind of what you're doing down there.
Yeah, so the school counselors are obviously doing their social emotional learning lessons. A lot of this year, even though we have our plan of what we're going to be doing from month to month, and we do meet monthly to discuss the efforts that we're implementing. We've also been getting a lot of referrals from teachers for things that they're seeing in the classroom and where they need some additional support. So the counselors have actually been creating additional, more focused lessons based on those needs, and then pushing those in through the classrooms. We obviously still have all of our lunch bunches, and then we're really excited about this new partnership with Trinity Counseling to do the Sunshine Circles, and we're hoping that that will really, kind of to go on that garden theme, but will really take root there, and we can really expand that program because play therapy is very, very effective, especially with the K-3 age group.
Great. Thank you, Dana.
All right, thank you. Were there any other questions? No. All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you do for kids. All right. And now moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. How are you? My report will be very brief. First of all, I want to just wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving holiday. As you know, the district offices and schools will be closing. We have a half-day session tomorrow, and we'll be closed on Thursday and Friday. We are incredibly grateful to the board, our family, our staff, and everyone who has been in support of all of our students. The second update I want to provide is around health services. We are in constant communication with Princeton's health department, and very grateful for that. Just wanted to help communicate out to the community that there is or has been a widespread cases of upper respiratory infection across the community. And we just want to continue to educate our staff, our families, that if you are sick or if you have sick children, please, please, please keep them at home. Our custodians are doing a remarkable job with keeping up with the extra cleaning in our shared spaces. And we know that people will be traveling this week and visiting others. We will continue to keep our eyes on our absentee rate due to various illnesses next week in our schools. But I think if we work together, stay home if we're sick, and just keep the nurses alerted as to what's going on at home, I think we can make it through this holiday season. I also would like to thank the Princeton Health Department, Mickey Crucifilli and her team for arranging another clinic for our staff that will take place on at Valley Road on November 29th and December 8th. And then finally, I wanted to, obviously I'm not Performance Fact, but I wanted to provide just a quick check-in on where we are with our strategic planning process. As many of you know, the Board of Ed met last Monday on November the 14th. And based upon the feedback that the board gave to our vendor, it will, I think the next step, according to the vendor, they are working on compiling a full report instead of a single document that will tell the story, the entire story. This will be completed, the draft, before, like after Thanksgiving break, obviously, and before we go on winter break. So within, I'm predicting just based on his feedback, the next couple of weeks. We will be meeting in a small group with Dr. Tu and myself, and working with board leadership with a couple of members of the board to just nail down some key pieces before it's shared back with the full board. And that is all for my report for this evening. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And, we'd be remiss to say that we are very grateful for your leadership, and we wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving and some well-deserved rest. So thank you very much. Any questions from anyone? Nope. All right, we'll move on now to the student board members report. Sorry for the long wait. Andre Penn and Rohan Chavette, please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, board. We have a few updates to give you on the current state of the school. Over the past few weeks, we've been gathering a significant amount of qualitative data from our peers around the high school, and we've created a survey to send out. However, we are waiting approval from our advisor to send it out to the entire school. We hope to report the results from the survey in a more formal presentation format for the next meeting, but we would like to discuss various problems that numerous students have brought up to us in these past few weeks, especially since the last board meeting.
A consistent problem that has been brought up by students is that the internet at the school is very inconsistent between classrooms. This leads to kids not being able to complete their coursework on their laptops and having to relocate to other areas of the school when they have to take things like tests online. Our suggestion is possibly looking into expanding the internet capacity at the school so that there's less problems with the connectivity and that students are able to better focus on having a good learning environment instead of focusing on the internet. A second issue that students have brought up is the air conditioning and heating systems at the school. Many students have noted that some rooms have gotten above over 85 degrees, and this is a concern for students' well-being in these classrooms, and also is a pretty large distraction for students and makes them feel very uncomfortable when the temperatures are so far away from room temperature. We're obviously not experts about how to solve any issues regarding the heating or AC systems, but we'd suggest the school looks into evaluating the rooms at the school and seeing if anything can be easily done to alleviate some of the issues with the heating and AC.
Also, the food situation was definitely a problem brought up by many students. There are very few healthy options that are accessible to students. And we often find that the go-to for students is either the vending machines or the fries or the sandwiches, which are not really complete or healthy meals. And there are definitely less options for vegetarian students that we've heard from our peers. And many students also talk about long lines and wait times that lead to many of them not being able to eat lunch and have enough time to eat lunch, or they, sorry.
Yeah, so we hope that with the input of the general student body, the aforementioned problems, we can work on the aforementioned problems with the board through identifying solutions, feasible solutions, and also work on presenting a more complete picture of the students' concerns at the next board meeting. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and also thank you for all the work that you guys are doing for our school.
Well, thank you so much, Andre and Rohan, and we appreciate you, and we're thankful for your time and for being a voice for your fellow students. And while we're not happy to hear that there are concerns, I think that these are all fixable. And so Mr. Bolden, I know will look into all this. He sent you a message already. He wants to know when it was hot, so he'll be right on. Trust me, he'll be right on it with a thermometer in the school tomorrow morning. And then with the food, we've heard a lot. Mr. Bolden, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we've heard a lot about the lack of vegetarian options, and I know that you've been looking into it. Do you have any update on that, or do you know when you'll have an update on that?
It is something we're working on with our partner right now. The high school is also very crowded in a short period of time, so we're hoping to make renovations over the summer to enhance how many children we can serve in a limited time frame. Also maximize the seating capacity. The round tables don't seem to seat enough kids, but then also, possibly going to look into technological innovation. If kids can order sandwiches, let's say in the morning, and then pick them up. I know that my kids used to like the sandwich station, and I know it's pretty popular at the high school. It's just a function of how many sandwiches one or two people can make in an hour. So we're going to look at all different angles.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bolden. And also, just so you know, we do hear your concerns about the internet, and we have also looked into that. And if I recall, the price, believe it or not, is astronomical. Or was that just for the guest network? But it was eye-popping, right? So we are looking into that, and we are working on it. But unfortunately, it's a very old building, and nothing we do over there is inexpensive. So thank you. Does anyone else have any? Oh, Dr. Kelly.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to point out, first of all, very great report. I'm looking forward to our next 2-on-1 in early December. And while I have you, Michelle Tuckponder, do you mind just raising your hand? The two gentlemen here know why. And Betsy Baglio and Brian McDonald. Okay, you guys see? All right, those are who you should contact. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. And to your families, take care. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome to stay, but we know that you've got a lot going on. And now moving on to item H, public forum, public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Mr. Bolden, do we have any takers?
Just give it in a few seconds. No one has their hand raised.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 8, I1, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And then the harassment, intimidation, and bullying hearing appeal. And these are consent. Oh, this is an action item.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Can I get a motion? Beth, second. Mara? Do we know what this is about?
It's just the resolution for the appeal that we heard in closed session on October 18th. And I just made it an action in case someone wasn't in attendance.
Okay. Oh, right. And I think Michelle was not in attendance. Is that
Mhm.
right? Yep. Okay. Oh, and Rob wasn't in attendance. Okay.
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder,
Abstain.
Betsy Baglio,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Bob Christopher.
Abstain.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Moving on to item J, board committee highlights. Starting with the equity committee, Betsy Baglio and Debbie Bronfeld, co-chairs.
Hi, good evening. Equity has not been meeting because we've been having our board strategic planning sessions during those times, and the public has been invited to those. We will be meeting for equity on Monday, December 5th at 7 p.m. That's our last regularly scheduled meeting of the equity committee this year, and we invite the public and hope that you'll attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Moving on to long-term planning with Chair Beth Barrett.
Thank you. Long-term planning met on November 17th. The demographic update is underway and we expect to report to the board before the winter break. The committee requested a wrap-up report from the administration on the impact of the PMS capacity with respect to the 2018 referendum projects, which are the new flexible learning spaces and the nurses suite, and the PMS schedule change. So we want to see whether kind of the objectives that we had when we did those projects have been met or not, or what we want some feedback on that. We also will ask for some feedback on the PHS projects sometime next year when they've had some time to use the new spaces, so that we make sure that what we've done is meeting the needs of the kids. We also noted that the municipality has begun planning for updating Community Park. They've hired a consultant, the Fields, and we have asked that the administration engage in athletics planning and that we're able to provide some input to that process, so we ensure that the needs of the students are also met in that municipal process. We are ongoing actions by the administration in planning for students from the new developments, and our increasing enrollment is under discussion, and we meet again on December 8th.
Okay, thank you very much, Beth. Any questions? Okay, moving on to operations with co-chairs Susan Cantor and Brian McDonald.
I'm going to start and Brian's going to chime in case I leave anything important out. But we met November 9th at 8 a.m. We received an update on both the 2018 referendum, which just has a few punch list items on it, and the 2022 referendum, in which they're largely complete with the roof work at PHS and CP, and they informed us that they were doing a big push during the long weekend at Littlebrook to try to complete that work and some of the outside repairs that needed to be done. As is our custom then, at each meeting, we discussed sustainability, but since Jenny gave such a great overview, I will pass on updating everyone on that. We discussed some technology upgrades for the high school. So it is at these meetings where we discuss issues like the connectivity at the high school, and that was discussed. In athletics, we moved one item to the agenda, which are safety nets for the upper field at the high school. And we also got preliminary information on certain grants that might be available to upgrade some of our equipment related to water usage at our schools. Our meetings, we do actually go over a lot of these issues and they're open to the public. Our next meeting is November 30th at 8 a.m. And I really do encourage the public to attend. Thanks.
Anything to add, Brian?
No, Susan did a great job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Susan. Any questions from anybody? No? All right, we're moving on now to personnel with Chair Debbie Bronfeld.
Thank you. Personnel met Thursday, November 10th. Tonight, the board will be voting on 2 job descriptions that were discussed at personnel. One is for a K-5 gifted and talented teacher, and the other is a PPS community liaison. The rest of the meeting, we discussed many personal issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Any questions? No. All right, moving on to policy with Beth Barrand and Jean Durbin, co-chairs.
Hi there. The policy committee met on November 4th. Our next meeting is December 2nd at 8:15. The main topic was the first read of the HIB mandated policy revision. It's policy number 5512. It's on our agenda for this evening. And it's just our first read. Basically, it changes the law a little bit. And it changes what the district has to keep in a student's file after 2 substantiated HIBs. And our understanding currently is that we are not mandated to report anything to a college, administration. We're getting more advice from counsel so that we're in compliance, but it's a little bit unwieldy. The other topics we talked about were just, slight policy revisions we want to talk about, sorry, I lost my place. Field trips, when parents are asked for money or to make contributions for things in school. Let's see, we talked about remote learning and some advocacy issues to position the district well in the event of emergency. And we want to talk about some governance issues at the next meeting where we will sort of get ready for goal setting for the new year, book our ethics training, and sort of manage how we'll work together as a group moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. Michelle, did you have a question?
I do have a question, and it's about the HIB reporting. So I wanted to ask Jean, if a school asks about any disciplinary matters and there's a finding of HIB, are we saying that we're required to give it or we're not required to give it? And maybe you need to talk to Alicia or whoever's helping you out with the policy, but I'd be interested in that if the school specifically asks if a student has that on the record. Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely punt that over to council for an official answer.
Thank you.
We had an extensive discussion about that, Michelle, because we want to make sure that whatever the change is, that we make sure we educate not only our parents, but our teachers, and we all understand how the new HIB works if there's a change.
I've just heard from a number of kids that there's a lot of misunderstanding about how a HIB works. So that would be great if we could clarify that.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Jean and Beth. And moving on to student achievement with Chair Betsy Baglio.
Thank you. We met November 2nd at 11:30 on Zoom. We had a few topics for the open session. One was on a new program called SCORE that would be a potential replacement for Naviance. Dana came to our meeting to speak about that and how that would impact, and so did Ms. Naparna Shaw as well, to how that would impact the counseling department. If there's any changes, none of it would happen for this current senior class. I don't want any other parents of seniors, such as myself, Rob, Jean, I'm looking at you. Don't worry, that would be for next year. But that is something we heard about in student achievement. We also discussed overnight field trips. This was for the Model UN program, and they're on our agenda this evening. We're consistently concerned about cost to families, who is included in these field trips, and there are questions that we ask about those at each meeting. Finally, a really exciting topic. There's a new AP proposed for the high school on human geography. So this is a course that is being proposed by Mr. Chip Casto, and he would be offering it starting next year. We discussed the course. It is more accessible to a lot of students than typical AP courses, and this would be included in the program of studies that's being developed for next year. The next SAC meeting, which I'm going to look here, I believe it is December 7th at 11:30. We will be seeing our program of studies for Princeton High School for next year. So our guidance department, our counseling department, excuse me, always comes to share new programs, new courses that are being held, and some courses that perhaps aren't being offered. So that will be happening in December. And then we adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Any questions? No? All right, now we're gonna get going. All right, so moving on, please stop me, if you have any questions. Item K, one, policy for first reading, that HIB policy that Jean mentioned. And then we move on to the personnel, item L1, retirements. I would just like, on behalf of the board, to wish Louise Hoffman and Matt Wilkinson all the best as they begin their retirement, especially Louise, who will begin February 1, 2023. I always felt safe leaving my kids there, knowing that Louise was at manning the desk. So best wishes, Louise. Moving on, item L2, resignation, L3, personnel item, L4, appointments, L5, transfer reassignment, L6, student services, L7, bus driver reappointments, L8, student teacher placements, and just the bus driver reappointments. Great job to both Matt and Rebecca Gold for all their work on ensuring that we have bus drivers to drive our kids to school. It's a very tight market, so thank you very much for all your hard work on that. L8, substitute teachers, student placement, L9, curriculum and instruction, L10, school improvement panels, L11, leave of absence, L12, job descriptions, K5, gifted and talented teacher and community liaison, L13, EPS stipends, L14, 6th period compensation.
Daphne, can I say something?
Yep.
Great. So I just want to remind everybody, we are also having teacher shortages, but I want to really give a great shout out to the science department at the high school and Dr. Joy Barnes Johnson, who was able to put together lots of extra staff, or even herself, to make sure our kids are getting biology. We're also having some tutoring, but like really looking outside the box, because the box isn't letting us hire everybody, and there aren't a lot of people. So anyways, I just really want to give a shout out. So our kids are getting biology. So thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Debbie. Moving on to item M, curriculum and instruction, M1, TCNJ, professional development, M2, staff wellness consultant, M3, NJ DOE preschool expansion, update to 3-year plan, M4, student overnight trips, M5, student day trips.
Or is an action item.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, can I get a motion? Betsy, second? Is there a second? Oh, Mara, sorry.
So,
Michelle, yes.
yeah, okay, I asked for this to be an action item because once again, we talk about, we have concerns about the cost of kids participating in student activities, and we talk about the importance of extracurricular activities. But as I asked the question at the meeting, how much this Model UN trip was going to be cost for out of pocket for parents, and it's $850. Now, I should have prefaced my remarks by saying, I love Model UN. I was a speaker at the Model UN conference in West Windsor. I think it's great for international understanding. But I really just want to continue to push this notion forward that we've got to figure out a way to make participation in extracurricular activities affordable for all our kids. $850 for an overnight trip, whether it's one night or 2 nights, whatever it is just inaccessible to so many people. And again, not the kids' fault, not the advisor's fault, but that's our responsibility as a board. And so we really need to figure out a way to help these things become more affordable, because $850, I think that's a lot of money. So I just wanted us to get on the record about voting for these trips, as worthy as they may be and as important as they are. But if everybody can't do them, it just continues to perpetuate inequity in our schools that, at some point, we really do need to get our arms around it.
Thank you, Michelle. Betsy?
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate your advocacy for this topic and for consistently bringing this back to us. I also just want to remind the public and the board that no student is ever denied an opportunity due to inability to pay. That's the bottom line. However, it is also difficult to put families in the position of asking for help. So I know where my colleague's coming from. I really respect that. But I just want to be very clear that if a child is interested in Model UN, the fact that it's $850 will not prevent them from going. And that is something that the board stands by. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Betsy. Debbie?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, because I just went back. Each trip, I think, is only $450. There's 2 trips, which would total 800 for 2.
Well, 900. 900. It would be 450 and 450 is 900, right?
Or if one said 400, but
okay,
the one weekend trip is an 800.
Okay, yeah.
That's what the sheet said.
Agreed. It's still 2 trips.
Yeah, no, I'm just clarifying. I know how much it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. I thought that was high too. 450 seemed like the right number, but point taken, Michelle. Okay, we have to vote on this, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck-Ponder,
Abstain.
Betsy Baglia,
Yes.
Beth Barron,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Dean Durbin,
Yes.
Mara Franceschi,
Yes.
Brian McDonald,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Rob Christopher.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, item M5, student day field trips. Is that also, that's not action, that is an action item.
I have that as action, but I'm not sure we need it to be action.
No, okay. No, okay. Then moving on to item N, student services, special education, and 1, educational placement of students, and 2, professional consulting services. Okay, moving on to O, business, finance, plant, transportation, O1, financial reports, O2, fire and evacuation drills, O3, fall bus safety drills, O4, capital lease resolution for equipment and vehicles, O5, acceptance of donation. Just on behalf of the board, we'd like to thank the anonymous donor for the $6,000 donation to be used for Princeton High School and Princeton Middle School. And the board acknowledges and offers appreciation and thanks the donor for this generous donation. Moving on, O6, purchase of PHS upper field fence and ball net system. O7, registration travel agenda. Any no questions? Okay, moving on now to the second public comment. Mr. Bolden, do we have any takers?
Just give it a minute. I don't see anybody's hand raised. No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Moving on now to item Q, the consent vote. Can I get a motion, please? Brian, second, Rob.
Daphne Kendall,
Yes.
Michelle Tuck Ponder,
Yes.
Betsy Baglia,
Yes.
Beth Baron,
Yes.
Eddie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Jean Durbin,
Yes.
Alan Franceschi,
Yes.
Ron McDonald,
Yes.
Susan Cantor,
Yes.
Bob Chris.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. And I'm remiss to not thank you for all you do for us. And we are very lucky to have you, and we're grateful for your service to us. And we know we ask a lot, but we're very grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to make a motion now to go into I'm going to ask for a motion to go in closed session. Can you remind me? Do you read your statement first, or do I make a motion first? Ask for a motion.
To take the motion, I'll read the statement.
Okay. Can I please get a motion to go in a closed session? Mara, second. Rob?
Do we need to come back into open to adjourn after closed?
There'd be no action taken. So we'll adjourn directly from closed session.
So there's no reason for members of the public to feel they should continue to stay with us.
Correct. Resolved that the Board of Education approves this closed session resolution, whereas NJSA 10.4.12 allows for public body to go into closed session during a public meeting, and whereas the Board of Education of the Princeton Public Schools has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempted from the public, and whereas the minutes of the closed session will be released when the need for confidentiality in accordance with NJSA 10.4.12 no longer applies, and whereas the regular meeting of this Board of Education will be adjourned from closed session with no action taken. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Board of Education of the Princeton Public Schools will go into closed session for the following reason, as outlined in NJSA 10.4.12, discussion of legal confidential general legal matter.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Do we have to take a roll call or just show of hands?
I think just a show of hands. So nobody is opposed.
Nope. All right. Let's give it 5 minutes and we'll meet you all in closed session. Matt sent the link out. Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye.